"Daddy, why are you crying?" A single dad stood at the rain-soaked cemetery, his daughter's tiny hand clutching his jacket. 2 fresh scars marked his chest, bullets meant for someone else's child. The city called him a hero, but he only remembered the promise he made that bloody night: "I'll keep her safe, no matter what." Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. James Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead as he pushed the mop across the marble floors of Sterling architecture firm. It was 11 p.m., and most of the city was asleep. But not James. He couldn't afford to sleep when there were bills to pay and a 5-year-old daughter waiting at home with the babysitter. His phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chen: "Lily is sleeping. Take your time." James smiled. Lily. His everything. His reason to breathe. Since his wife Sarah died 3 years ago from cancer, Lily became his whole world. He worked 3 jobs: janitor at night, delivery driver in the morning, and warehouse worker in the afternoon. Sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford. He pushed his cart toward the executive floor, humming a song Lily loved. The building was empty, or so he thought. Voices echoed from the corner office. James froze. The lights were on in Ms. Victoria Hayes's office. She was the lead architect, a brilliant woman who had designed half the city's skyline. James had seen her a few times, always kind, always smiling at him, asking about his daughter. But these voices weren't friendly. "You have 1 week, Victoria. 1 week to sign over those properties, or your daughter pays the price." James's blood ran cold. He moved closer, staying in the shadows. Through the glass wall, he saw 3 men in dark suits surrounding Victoria. She sat at her desk, her face pale but defiant. In the corner, James saw a little girl, maybe 8 years old, sitting on the couch, tears streaming down her face. Victoria's daughter. "You're making a mistake, Detective Raymond," Victoria said, her voice shaking but strong. "Those properties belong to the families who've lived there for generations. I won't let you destroy their homes for your corrupt development deal." The man called Raymond laughed, a cruel, cold sound. "Your husband thought he could expose us too. Look where that got him." Victoria's hands clenched into fists. "You killed Robert. You murdered my husband. And I'll do the same to your precious Emma if you don't cooperate." James's heart pounded. He should call the police. But Raymond was a detective. Who could he trust? Emma sobbed louder. Victoria stood up, moving toward her daughter, but Raymond grabbed her arm roughly. "Sit down, architect. We're not done talking." Something inside James broke. He thought of Lily. He thought of how he'd feel if someone threatened his daughter. He couldn't walk away. James burst through the door. "Let them go." 3 guns immediately pointed at him. Raymond smiled coldly. Well. The janitor. "Wrong place, wrong time, friend. I said let them go." James's voice was steadier than he felt. "You're a brave idiot," Raymond said. "Or just an idiot. You think you can stop us?" Victoria's eyes met James's. "Please, just leave. Save yourself." But James saw Emma's terrified face, and he saw Lily in her place. "I'm not leaving," he said quietly. Raymond nodded to his men. "Take care of him. And make sure there are no witnesses." Everything happened in slow motion. One of the men raised his gun toward Emma. Victoria screamed. James didn't think. He just moved. He ran across the room, throwing himself in front of the little girl just as the first shot rang out. Pain exploded in his shoulder. The second shot hit his chest. James collapsed, his body covering Emma like a shield. "No!" Victoria's scream echoed through the building. Alarms started blaring. Security was coming. "We need to go," one of Raymond's men shouted. Raymond looked at James's bleeding body with disgust. Leave him. He's done. They ran, disappearing into the night. Victoria dropped to her knees beside James, pressing her hands against his wounds. Stay with me. Please stay with me. Emma crawled out from under James, sobbing. Mama, is he dead? No, baby. He's going to be okay. He has to be okay. James's vision blurred. He thought of Lily. Who would take care of her? Who would make her breakfast and braid her hair and read her bedtime stories? My daughter. He whispered. Shoo, don't talk. Help is coming, Victoria said, tears streaming down her face. Lily, her name is Lily, please. I promise, Victoria said, gripping his hand. I promise I'll take care of her. But you're going to survive this. You hear me? You're going to survive. Security guards burst into the room, followed by paramedics. As they lifted James onto a stretcher, he looked at Emma one last time. She was safe. That was all that mattered. Darkness pulled him under. James woke up 4 days later in the hospital. Victoria Hayes sat beside his bed, dark circles under her eyes. You're awake, she whispered, tears filling her eyes. Thank God. Lily. He croaked. She's safe. With my mother. I've been taking care of her, just like I promised. Relief flooded through James. Emma, he whispered. Safe too. Because of you. You took 2 bullets meant for her. James closed his eyes. His whole body hurt, but knowing both girls were safe made it bearable. The police? He asked. Victoria's expression darkened. Raymond is a decorated detective. He has connections. When I told the police what happened, they said there was no evidence. Raymond claimed he was never there. So he gets away with it. For now. Victoria stood up. But my husband Robert was an investigative journalist. He was murdered 6 months ago because he was exposing Raymond's corruption. I have all his research, all his evidence. I just need someone brave enough to publish it. I'll help you, James said. Victoria stopped. James, you almost died. You have a daughter who needs you. Those men shot me. Threatened a child. Killed your husband. I can't let that go. Victoria studied him for a long moment, then smiled. Robert would have liked you. He always believed ordinary people could change the world. I'm just a dad who wants his daughter to grow up in a city where bad people don't win. Then we'll fight together. For Robert. For Emma. For Lily. For everyone Raymond has hurt. Over the next 2 weeks, Victoria visited every day with Lily and Emma. Watching his daughter laugh and play with Emma, seeing how Victoria cared for Lily as if she were her own, James felt something he hadn't felt since Sarah died, hope. When James was discharged, Victoria drove him to a beautiful house in the suburbs. What are we doing here? James asked. This is my home, Victoria said. And for now, it's your home too. You and Lily. Victoria, I can't. You can barely walk, James. You can't work. How will you pay rent? Victoria's voice was gentle but firm. You saved my daughter's life. Please, let me help you. James knew she was right. He had no income, no savings. Just until I get back on my feet, he said quietly. Just until then, Victoria agreed. But both of them knew it was more than that. They were becoming a family, bound by trauma and gratitude and a shared mission. The mission to take down Detective Raymond. Living in Victoria's home changed everything for James. Lily had her own room, filled with toys and books. She had a yard to play in, a friend in Emma, and regular meals. James watched his daughter bloom like a flower finally getting enough sunlight. Every evening after the girls went to bed, James and Victoria worked in her study, surrounded by Robert's research. Boxes of documents, photographs, evidence of Raymond's crimes spanning 5 years. Robert was so close, Victoria said one night. He had proof Raymond was taking bribes from developers, threatening families, burning down homes. He even had evidence linking Raymond to 3 murders. Then why couldn't he publish it? He was going to. The day before he died, Robert told me he was meeting his editor. The next morning, they found him dead in an alley. Robbery, the police said. But his wallet and phone were still on him. Raymond killed him to stop the story. Yes. And made it look like random violence. They worked organizing the evidence, building the case. James learned things about the city that made him sick. Families forced from their homes. Small businesses burned down. People who spoke up suddenly dying in accidents. And behind it all, Detective David Raymond. The threat started small. A brick through Victoria's window. Slashed tires. Anonymous phone calls promising harm to Emma and Lily. They hired private security, 2 retired police officers who Robert had trusted, Martinez and Johnson. The men moved into the guest house and watched over the property. After 2 months of preparation, they were ready. Victoria contacted Maria Santos, Robert's trusted colleague at the national news network. They arranged a secret meeting. Maria was in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a reputation for fearless journalism. When Victoria spread out Robert's evidence, Maria's expression grew darker. "I knew Robert was onto something big," Maria said quietly. "I knew his death wasn't random. But I didn't have proof." "Now you do," Victoria said. Maria looked at James. "You were shot protecting Victoria's daughter?" "Yes, ma'am." "And you're willing to testify?" James thought of Lily, of Emma, of all the families Raymond had destroyed. "Yes." Maria studied the evidence for a long time. Then she looked up, eyes blazing. "I'm in. Let's destroy this bastard." The story broke on a Tuesday morning. National news networks ran it as their top headline, "Decorated Detective Exposed, 5 Years of Corruption, Murder, and Intimidation." Maria Santos had done her job perfectly. The evidence was presented clearly, damning. Raymond's bribes, his threats, his connection to Robert Hayes's murder. And at the center of the story was James, the janitor who took 2 bullets to save a child. The city exploded with outrage. Within hours, Raymond was suspended pending investigation. His partners were arrested. The FBI opened a case. Victoria and James watched the news together, Emma and Lily playing in the next room, unaware of the storm they'd unleashed. "We did it," Victoria whispered. "Robert's story is finally being told." But James felt uneasy. "It's not over yet." He was right. That night, James woke to the sound of breaking glass. He jumped out of bed, his heart racing. Through his window, he saw figures moving in the yard. "Victoria," he shouted, running into the hall. She was already there, phone in hand, calling Martinez and Johnson. But the security guards didn't answer. James's blood ran cold. He ran to the girls' rooms. Lily was sitting up in bed, frightened by the noise. "Daddy?" "It's okay, baby. Stay here." He grabbed her, carrying her to Emma's room where Victoria was holding her daughter. "They're inside," Victoria said, her voice tight with fear. "I heard them downstairs." James looked around frantically. They were on the 2nd floor. The stairs were the only way down, and the intruders were between them and escape. "The balcony," James said. "In your room." They moved quickly but quietly to Victoria's bedroom. James could hear footsteps on the stairs, getting closer. He opened the balcony door, looking down. It was a 12-foot drop to the garden below. "We'll have to jump," he whispered. "With the girls?" Victoria looked terrified. "I'll go first, catch them." James didn't give himself time to think. He climbed over the railing and dropped. Pain shot through his still-healing chest as he landed, but he stayed on his feet. "Emma first," he called up quietly. Victoria lowered Emma over the railing. James caught her, setting her down gently. "Lily, baby, you trust Daddy?" His daughter nodded, tears on her cheeks, but she was brave. So brave. Victoria lowered her down. James caught her, held her close for just a second. "Run to the trees," he told Emma and Lily. "Hide and stay quiet." The girls ran into the shadows of the garden. Victoria was climbing over the railing when the bedroom door burst open. 3 men rushed in, not Raymond, but his hired thugs. "Got you," one of them snarled. Victoria let go, dropping. James caught her, but the impact knocked them both down. The men came onto the balcony. James pushed Victoria toward the trees. "Run. Get to the girls. James. Go." Victoria ran. The men jumped down, chasing her. James got up, his whole body screaming in pain, and ran after them. He was unarmed, outmatched, still recovering from gunshot wounds. But he was a father. And nothing would stop him from protecting those girls. He caught up to one of the men, tackling him from behind. They went down hard. James punched him, fighting with everything he had. But another man grabbed James, pulling him off. A fist crashed into James's face. Then another. And another. James tasted blood. His vision blurred. Through the haze, he saw Victoria and the girls reaching the fence at the back of the property. "Climb," he tried to shout, but his mouth wouldn't work right. The third man was running toward Victoria. With his last bit of strength, James broke free from his attacker and threw himself at the man chasing Victoria. They crashed into the fence. The man pulled out a knife. James saw it coming but couldn't move fast enough. The blade cut across his arm, deep and burning. But Victoria and the girls were over the fence, running toward the neighbor's house. Safe. James smiled through his bloody teeth. Safe. Then the men were on him, and everything went black. James woke in the hospital again. This was becoming a bad habit. But this time, the room was full of people. Victoria and the girls, yes, but also Martinez and Johnson, the security guards had been drugged but were alive. Maria Santos. Police officers. FBI agents. And standing at the back of the room, in handcuffs, was Detective David Raymond. "You're awake," Victoria said, tears streaming down her face. She was holding Lily and Emma, one girl on each side of her. "Daddy." Lily wriggled free and climbed carefully onto the bed. "You're okay." "I'm okay, baby girl." James pulled her close, ignoring the pain. Nothing mattered except this moment, this feeling of his daughter in his arms. An FBI agent stepped forward. "Mr. Miller, I'm Agent Foster. You've been unconscious for 2 days. I wanted to be here when you woke up to tell you, we got them. All of them. Raymond and his men are under arrest." James looked at Raymond. The detective's face was cold, hateful. "Your neighbor called 911 when Victoria and the girls came over," Agent Foster continued. "Police arrived within minutes. They caught Raymond's men assaulting you. And when we searched Raymond's house, we found evidence he'd been planning to kill all of you that night. He was desperate to stop the story. But the story was already out," James said. "Exactly. He panicked. Made mistakes. And now he's going to prison for a very long time." Agent Foster smiled. "Murder, attempted murder, corruption, conspiracy. He'll never see freedom again." James looked at Raymond. The man who had killed Robert Hayes. Who had threatened children. who had corrupted the badge he was supposed to honor. Good, James said simply. Raymond sneered. You think you've won? You're nobody. A janitor who got lucky. He's a hero, Victoria said fiercely. He saved my daughter. He saved me. He helped bring you down. He's worth 1,000 of you. Raymond was led away. James hoped he'd never see the man again. Over the next weeks, as James recovered from his new injuries, broken ribs, knife wound, concussion, the city transformed. Raymond's arrest opened floodgates. Other victims came forward. More corrupt officers were exposed. The development deals were cancelled. Families got their homes back. And James Miller became famous. The media loved his story, the single dad janitor who took bullets for a stranger's child, who fought corruption despite having nothing, who risked everything for justice. They called him a hero. A champion. An inspiration. James hated the attention. He just wanted to go back to his quiet life with Lily. But the city had other plans. A GoFundMe campaign started by strangers raised over $500,000 for James's medical bills and Lily's future. Job offers poured in from companies across the city. The mayor gave him a Medal of Honor. Through it all, Victoria stayed by his side. She deflected the media when James was overwhelmed. She made sure Lily was protected from the chaos. She was his shield, his support. One evening, after the girls were asleep, James and Victoria sat on her back porch, watching the sunset. Things are going to be different now, Victoria said quietly. You're going to have opportunities, James. Real opportunities. You don't have to work 3 jobs anymore. You can give Lily a good life. I know. James was quiet for a moment. I've been thinking about one of those job offers. The one from the community center, working with at-risk kids. Victoria smiled. That's perfect for you. It doesn't pay much, but it's meaningful. It's you. Victoria took his hand. You've always been about helping people, James. Now you can do it full-time. James squeezed her hand. What about you? What's next for the famous architect? Victoria's expression grew thoughtful. I'm going to rebuild. The properties Raymond wanted, the ones Robert died protecting, I'm going to develop them properly. Community housing, affordable apartments, places where families can actually afford to live. I'm going to make sure Robert's dream becomes real. He'd be proud of you. I hope so. Victoria leaned her head on James's shoulder. We make a good team, you know. We do. So maybe we should make it official. James's heart skipped. Official? Victoria lifted her head, looking at him with those intelligent, beautiful eyes. The girls already think of each other as sisters. They ask me every day when you and Lily are going to stay forever. And I want you to stay too, James. Not as a guest. Not as someone I owe a debt to. But as family. James felt his throat tighten with emotion. Victoria, I'm just. Don't say you're just a janitor. You're the bravest, kindest, most selfless man I've ever met. You saved my daughter's life. You helped me bring Robert's killers to justice. You've been there for me every single day when I needed someone. Victoria's voice broke. I'm falling in love with you, James. And I think you feel the same. James couldn't speak for a moment. Finally, he whispered, I do. I love you, Victoria. But I worry. About what people will think. About moving too fast. About whether we're doing this for the right reasons. Victoria smiled through her tears. I've worried about all of that too. But then I watch you with Emma and Lily, and I see how happy they are. I see how happy you make me. And I think life's too short to not grab onto happiness when we find it. James pulled her close, kissing her forehead. Sarah would have liked you. She always said I needed someone tough enough to put up with me. And Robert would have loved you. He always believed in ordinary heroes. Victoria looked up at him. So what do you say? Will you stay? Will you build a life with me? Yes, James said without hesitation. Yes, I'll stay. Forever. They sat together as the sun set, two broken people who had found healing in each other, two parents who had fought for their children and won. 1 year later, James stood in front of a crowd of thousands. The city had built a memorial in the park, a statue of a man shielding a child. It was called The Protector, but everyone knew it was really a memorial to James Miller and what he'd done. James had argued against it. He didn't want a statue. But the city insisted. And Victoria convinced him it wasn't really about him, it was about what he represented. Hope. Courage. The idea that ordinary people could make a difference. So here he stood, about to give a speech he'd been dreading for weeks. Victoria stood beside him, her hand in his. They'd gotten married 3 months ago, a simple ceremony with just the girls and a few close friends. Emma was now his daughter too, just as Lily was Victoria's. Their family. Perfect and whole. James looked at his notes, then crumpled them up and spoke from his heart. A year ago, I was a janitor working 3 jobs just to survive. I was tired all the time. I worried constantly about how I'd pay rent, how I'd give my daughter a decent life. I felt invisible, like I didn't matter. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. Then one night, I saw something I couldn't ignore. I saw bad people threatening an innocent child. And I had a choice, walk away and stay safe, or step forward and do what was right. James touched his chest, where the bullet scars were hidden under his shirt. I got shot twice making that choice. I almost died. And sometimes people ask me if I regret it. If I wish I'd just walked away. He paused, looking at Victoria, at Emma and Lily standing with their arms around each other. The answer is no. I don't regret it for a single second. Because that night taught me something important, we're not powerless. We're never powerless. Every single one of us has the ability to stand up against wrong. To protect someone who needs protecting. To fight for justice even when it's hard. James's voice grew stronger. This statue isn't about me. It's about you. All of you. It's a reminder that heroes aren't people with capes or superpowers. Heroes are teachers who stay late to help struggling students. Heroes are neighbors who check on the elderly. Heroes are people who speak up when they see injustice, even when it's easier to stay quiet. He looked at the statue, the figure of a man protecting a child. We all have that person inside us. The protector. The one who steps forward when others step back. And this city needs you. The world needs you. Because there will always be people like Raymond, people who use power to hurt others. But there will also always be people like us, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The crowd started to applaud, but James held up his hand. One more thing. This memorial is also dedicated to Robert Hayes, an investigative journalist who died fighting for the truth. Robert never got to see justice done. But his work, his courage, his sacrifice, those things live on. And they remind us that every fight for what's right matters, even if we don't live to see the ending. James stepped back. The crowd erupted in applause, people crying, cheering, inspired. Victoria hugged him tight. Robert would be so proud, she whispered. I'm so proud. Emma and Lily ran up, and James scooped them both into his arms. 2 daughters. 2 miracles. Later that night, after the ceremony, after the interviews and handshakes and photos, after the girls were finally asleep, James and Victoria stood in their backyard under the stars. Do you ever think about that night? Victoria asked. What would have happened if you'd walked away? All the time, James admitted. Emma might not be here. You might not be here. Raymond might still be free, still hurting people. One decision changed everything. Yeah. James pulled Victoria close. One decision led me to you, to this life, to our family. I'd take those bullets 1,000 times over for this. Victoria kissed him. You know, Maria is working on another story. About corruption in the housing authority. She asked if you'd be willing to help, to be the face of the investigation again. James groaned. More media attention. More chances to make a difference. Victoria smiled. You're kind of stuck being a hero now, James Miller. Might as well embrace it. As long as you're by my side. Always. They stood together in the darkness, two survivors who had found love after loss, who had fought for justice and won, who had built a family from tragedy and sacrifice. Inside the house, Emma and Lily slept peacefully, two little girls who would grow up knowing they were loved, protected, and valued. And across the city, in homes and apartments and shelters, people looked at their own lives and asked themselves, what would James Miller do? What would I do if I saw someone who needed help? Some of them decided to be braver. Some of them decided to speak up instead of staying silent. Some of them decided that they too could be heroes. Because that's what James Miller taught the city, we're all capable of extraordinary courage. We all have the power to change lives. We just have to choose to step forward. The community center buzzed with activity. James stood in the gym, watching kids from all over the city play basketball, do homework, learn skills that would help them escape poverty. He'd been running this center for 5 years now. It was exhausting, fulfilling, perfect. Victoria appeared with lunch. She'd been at a construction site all morning, overseeing one of her affordable housing projects. The girls are asking if they can stay after school for drama club, she said. Both of them? Both of them. Victoria laughed. Emma wants to be a director. Lily wants to be an actress. Emma was 13 now, Lily was 10. They were inseparable, finishing each other's sentences, defending each other fiercely. That evening, the whole family gathered for dinner. Emma talked excitedly about the play she was directing. Lily showed everyone the drawing she'd made, a picture of their family, all 4 of them holding hands under a rainbow. That's beautiful, baby, James said, hanging it on the refrigerator. After dinner, James stepped outside to the porch. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. He thought about the man he used to be, exhausted, struggling, invisible. He thought about that night 5 years ago when everything changed. Taking those bullets was the worst and best thing that ever happened to him. Worst because of the pain, the trauma. Best because it led him here. To this family. To this life. To a purpose bigger than just surviving. Daddy? Lily came outside, climbing into his lap. Emma was telling me about her dad. About Uncle Robert. She says he was brave like you. James's throat tightened. He was braver. He spent years fighting for what was right. Mama says you're both heroes. Your mama is very kind. Lily was quiet, then asked, Daddy, would you do it again? If you could go back to that night, knowing you'd get hurt, would you still save Emma? James didn't hesitate. Every single time, baby girl. Even if it meant leaving me alone. James pulled back to look at his daughter's face. She had tears in her eyes. Oh, Lily. He held her close. I know that night was scary. But if I had walked away, if I had let something bad happen to Emma when I could have stopped it, I wouldn't have been the daddy you deserved. Do you understand? Lily nodded against his chest. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing what's right even when you are scared. I learned it from you, Lily whispered. Victoria and Emma came outside. Family moment without us? Never, James said, opening his arms. They all squeezed together on the porch swing, watching the sunset. I love our family, Emma said softly. I know it started because of something scary. But I'm glad we're all together now. Me too, Lily agreed. Me three, Victoria added. James looked at the three most important people in his world, his wife, his daughters, and felt overwhelming gratitude. I love you all, he said. More than anything in the entire world. They sat together as the sky darkened and stars appeared, a family forged through sacrifice and love, proof that even from the darkest moments, beautiful things could grow. 20 years later, James stood in front of thousands at the memorial statue dedication. He was in his 50s now, gray threading through his hair. The statue was called The Protector, a man shielding a child. Victoria stood beside him, her hand in his. They'd gotten married years ago. Emma was now his daughter too, just as Lily was Victoria's. Their family. Perfect and whole. James looked at the crowd and spoke from his heart. A year ago, I was a janitor working 3 jobs just to survive. I felt invisible, like I didn't matter. Then one night, I saw bad people threatening an innocent child. And I had a choice, walk away and stay safe, or step forward and do what was right. He touched his chest, where the bullet scars were hidden. I got shot twice making that choice. I almost died. People ask me if I regret it. If I wish I'd walked away. He looked at Victoria, at Emma and Lily with their arms around each other. The answer is no. I don't regret it for a single second. Because that night taught me something important, we're not powerless. Every single one of us has the ability to stand up against wrong. To protect someone who needs protecting. His voice grew stronger. Heroes aren't people with capes. Heroes are teachers who stay late to help students. Heroes are neighbors who check on the elderly. Heroes are people who speak up when they see injustice. He looked at the statue. We all have that person inside us. The protector. The one who steps forward when others step back. Because there will always be people like Raymond, people who use power to hurt others. But there will also always be people like us, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The crowd erupted in applause. Victoria hugged him tight. I'm so proud. Emma and Lily ran up, and James scooped them both into his arms. 2 daughters. 2 miracles. Later that night, James and Victoria stood in their backyard under the stars. Do you ever think about that night? Victoria asked. All the time, James admitted. One decision changed everything. One decision led you to me, to this life, to our family. I'd take those bullets 1,000 times over for this. Victoria kissed him. You're kind of stuck being a hero now, James Miller. As long as you're by my side. Always. They stood together in the darkness, 2 survivors who had found love after loss, who had built a family from tragedy and sacrifice. Inside, Emma and Lily slept peacefully, 2 little girls who would grow up knowing they were loved, protected, and valued. And across the city, people looked at their own lives and asked themselves, what would I do if I saw someone who needed help? Some of them decided to be braver. Some decided to speak up instead of staying silent. Some decided that they too could be heroes. Because that's what James Miller taught the city, we're all capable of extraordinary courage. We just have to choose to step forward. This story is dedicated to every ordinary person who has done extraordinary things. To every parent who sacrificed for their children. To every person who stepped forward when others stepped back. You are the real heroes. And the world is better because you're in it.